Last Tuesday, a man stood in a Portuguese unemployment office. He is 40 years old. His contract expired without a whisper. Tonight, that same man stands in the tunnel of Hard Rock Stadium, squinting against the neon glare of 25,000 cameras. He is the only thing standing between a nation of scattered islands and the most lethal scoring machine in human history. His name is Vozinha. The world doesn't know him yet, but Lionel Messi is about to learn. He is about to see the face of a man with nothing left to lose. The geography of this match is an insult to probability. On one side, you have Argentina. They are the world champions. They hold 16 Copa America titles. Since 2022, they have lived in the top 3 of the FIFA rankings as if they own the lease. They are a footballing empire built on the myth of the 10. On the other side, you have Cape Verde. It is a collection of 10 volcanic islands drifting off the west coast of Africa. Its population is roughly 560,000 people. That is smaller than the city of Albuquerque. It is smaller than the crowd that showed up to watch Argentina's victory parade in Buenos Aires. When they qualified for this World Cup last October, they became the second smallest nation to ever reach the global stage. Their football federation was born in 1982. They weren't even accepted by FIFA until 1986. That is the same year Diego Maradona was lifting the trophy in Mexico City. While Argentina was cementing a legacy of gods, Cape Verde was just trying to figure out how to register a squad. Money usually dictates the outcome of these stories. The market value of Argentina's squad is a number that feels like a typo. It is measured in hundreds of millions, a towering skyline of wealth built on European transfer fees. A single player like Enzo Fernandez or Julian Alvarez is worth more than the entire Cape Verdean economy of football. The Cape Verde squad is valued at roughly 54 million euros. Not a single player in their roster competes in their own domestic league. It is a semi-professional setup where dreams usually go to die. Only one of their players currently earns a living in Europe's top 5 divisions. The rest are the nomads of the sport. They play in the second tiers of Portugal, the dusty stadiums of Cyprus, or the obscure corners of the Middle East. On paper, this is not a competition. It is a scheduled execution. But the history of Cape Verde is not written on paper. It is written in the wind. For decades, the national team was an afterthought, a group of players who couldn't compete with the giants of the continent. Then came 2010. The manager at the time looked at his squad and realized he was fighting a war with broken tools. He looked outward. He looked at the diaspora. Thousands of Cape Verdeans were scattered across the globe. They were in the Netherlands, in France, in Portugal. They were children of immigrants born in European suburbs, playing in elite academies, but holding on to the stories of a homeland they had barely seen. He called up 8 uncapped players in a single window. He began stitching together a nation from its scattered pieces. He convinced them that the blue and white shirt meant more than a European bench. It was a slow, painful process of assembly. They cracked the FIFA Top 100 in 2006. They finally reached the Africa Cup of Nations in 2013 and, against every prediction, marched to the quarterfinals. They were building a culture of the outsider. 4 years ago, they were a single goal away from Qatar. They drew 1-1 in Lagos against Nigeria. A win would have sent them to their first World Cup. They fell short. Most small nations never recover from that kind of heartbreak. The window usually slams shut and stays locked. But Cape Verde did something different. They went back to the Atlantic and waited. They topped a qualifying group that featured Cameroon, an 8-time World Cup veteran. They lost only once in 10 matches. They didn't just qualify, they kicked the door down. That brings us to this tournament. Nobody gave them a prayer. In the opening game against Spain, the European champions, the script was already written. Spain was supposed to pass them into exhaustion. Instead, Cape Verde stood like a stone wall. 90 minutes later, it was 0-0. a clean sheet against the most sophisticated attacking system in the world. Vozinha became a global name in an hour. It was one of the greatest shocks in the history of the game, yet the world treated it like a fluke. Then came Uruguay, two-time world champions, a team of street fighters and superstars. Cape Verde drew 2-2. Kevin Pina, a boy from the capital city of Praia, scored their first-ever World Cup goal. The fluke was starting to look like a pattern. In the final group game against Saudi Arabia, they needed a result to survive. They were playing for the knockout rounds. They were playing for the right to exist in the conversation. Again, the scoreboard remained blank. 0-0. They walked out of the group in second place. They became the first team since 1998 to reach the knockout stages of a World Cup without winning a single match. 3 games, 3 draws, 0 losses. They are the team that refuses to be beaten even when they cannot find a way to win. They have mastered the art of the stalemate. They have turned the football pitch into a place where the elite go to be frustrated. Now they face the ultimate test. Lionel Messi is not just a player, he is an atmospheric event. He has 6 goals in 3 games at this tournament. He scored a hat-trick in the opener. He is playing with the calm of a man who knows he is writing the final chapter of his own legend. He is hunting one last piece of history, and Cape Verde is the only thing in his path. The Argentina manager, Lionel Scaloni, is not laughing. He told the press this week that Cape Verde is not here by chance. He spoke about their ability to intercept through balls. He spoke about their technical discipline and their ability to counterattack with terrifying speed. He spoke about them with the respect you usually reserve for Germany or Brazil. He knows that the most dangerous thing in football is a team that has already survived the impossible. The reality, however, is bleak. Cape Verde has drawn its games because they cannot generate consistent offense. Their entire identity is built on suffering. They defend, they scramble, they rely on a 40-year-old goalkeeper to perform miracles every 15 minutes. Against a team with the balance and depth of Argentina, that margin for error is thinner than a razor. If Argentina finds an early goal, the fairy tale likely ends in a landslide. No one would be surprised. No one would blame them, but the odds always ignore the psychology of the archipelago. Cape Verde does not just survive as the underdog. They thrive in the shadows. They have made a home in the exact spot where everyone assumed they would collapse. Giant killers do not fear the giant. They only see the target. It all comes back to Vozinha. With those clean sheets against Spain and Saudi Arabia, he became only the 3rd goalkeeper aged 40 or older to finish a World Cup match without conceding a goal. He is the symbol of this entire run. 3 weeks ago, he was a man without a club. He was a man whose career was supposedly over. Today, he is the last line of defense against the greatest player to ever lace up a pair of boots. One man has the trophies, the money, and the adoration of billions. The other has a pair of gloves and a contract that no longer exists. One of them has to blink. One of them has to break first under the heat of the Florida night. This wasn't a series of isolated mistakes. It was exactly how the system was designed to work. The world of football is built to keep the small nations in their place. The seedings, the coefficients, the financial distributions, they are all designed to ensure that the icons of the game reach the final Sunday. Cape Verde is a glitch in that machine. They are the error code that the FIFA elite cannot figure out how to delete. They represent the millions of players who were told they were too small, too old, or from a place too insignificant to matter. When Vozinha looks at Messi tonight, he isn't just looking at a striker, he is looking at the entire institution that told him he was finished. The stadium is shaking. The Argentinian fans have turned Miami into a suburb of Buenos Aires. The noise is a physical weight. You can see the Cape Verdean players in the tunnel. They are small. They are quiet. They are holding the hands of mascots who might be taller than their starting midfielders. They are looking at the blue and white stripes of the world champions. They are looking at the gold star on Messi's chest. But look closer at their eyes. There is no panic there. There is only the steady, rhythmic breathing of a team that has been living on the edge of extinction since 1982. They have already won. They have already forced the world to learn the names of 10 islands they couldn't find on a map a month ago. The whistle blows, the ball moves. Argentina begins the suffocating process of possession. They move it left to right, seeking the gap, seeking the moment where the Cape Verdean discipline finally snaps. Messi drops deep. He picks up the ball 40 yards out. He looks up. He sees a wall of blue. He sees Kevin Pina closing the passing lane. He sees the diaspora kids from Rotterdam and Lisbon sliding into tackles like their lives depend on the contact. The minutes start to tick away. The crowd begins to get restless. The tension in the air is thick enough to choke on. Every time Messi finds a pocket of space, every time he unleashes that trademark curler toward the far post, a 40-year-old man in neon gloves is there. Vozinha dives. He sprawls. He tips the ball around the post with the tips of his fingers. He gets up and screams at a defense that is beginning to tire. He is playing for his father, who worked the docks. He is playing for the unemployment office back in Portugal. He is playing for the 10 islands that are currently at a complete standstill, their entire populations huddled around flickering television sets. This is the beauty and the cruelty of the World Cup. It gives you the chance to be a hero for exactly 90 minutes before the world returns to its natural order. Argentina will keep coming. They have the bench. They have the fitness. They have the inevitability of greatness. But for now, the score is still 0. The miracle is still breathing. The underdog is still standing in the middle of the ring, bloodied and exhausted, but refusing to fall. It is a reminder that in football, as in life, the size of the nation does not dictate the size of the heart. The biggest story of this tournament isn't about the man who has everything. It is about the man who has nothing but the next save. It is about the 40-year-old free agent who decided that tonight the king would have to wait. Does Vozinha play the match of his life one more time? Does he produce the save, the sprawl, and the clean sheet that sends a nation of 10 islands into a delirium that will last for generations? Or does Messi finally do what Messi does? Does he pick the lock, break the fairy tale, and remind every single person in the stadium why the favorites are the favorites in the first place? Underdog magic does not come with a schedule. It shows up when it wants to, and it disappears just as fast. The only question left is whether it has one more night in it. The lights are bright, the grass is perfect, the king is ready. But the man from the islands is still standing his ground. The Atlantic wind is cold tonight. Messi is waiting for the whistle. Vozinha is adjusting his gloves. The world is watching a mismatch. The islands are still breathing.